I am Geoffrey of Ilardoen in the Kingdom of Sweden campaign from the 1648 mode for medieval two Total War Kingdoms by Infracta. Gustavus Adolphus has marched south to Plauen at the head of one of the Scottish regiments, a Swedish regiment made up of units of the Red Regiment and the Yellow Brigade, his life guard of foot and some cavalry. He is accompanied by a second army of mostly melee units that can act as forlorn hopes, commanded by Captain Petrus. Our spies report an Imperialist cavalry regiment under Ludwig August the Scarred camped outside the city, the strong garrison of Plauen under Otto Ferdinand Ritter von Benedek, and a second army under Jobst Spiegel. A closer inspection reveals a reasonably strong force with many dragoons. Leopold von Habsburg, the brother of the Kaiser, is with his army, as well as a third general, Michael Adolph, the Graf of Althan. The King of Sweden marches into what is going to be a mighty battle. The Imperialists have not only a strong force but several pike units of the Imperial Tercio. The garrison of Plauen has two silver-chevroned such units under a second general, Ottokar von Marburg, and their Drau. Leopold von Habsburg, Jobst Spiegel, and Michael Adolph, the Graf of Althan, have a strong force of mercenaries. The enemy generals are highly experienced. Ludwig August the Scarred has 10 command stars and is as good as Wallenstein. He is academy trained, a great commander, and a strong attacker and courageous, strangely commanding a cavalry regiment, although he is a colonel of infantry. Jobst Spiegel, also a colonel of infantry, is also a 10-star commander, a proven commander and confident defender, smart, dauntless, and has a good overview, that is the ability to achieve victories with minimal losses. Otto Ferdinand, the Knight of Benedek, the survivor of the Battle of Dresden last month, is a 6-star commander and a colonel of cavalry. Together, this combination of generals and armies represent the most challenging opponents the King of Sweden has faced in battle in the entire campaign. The occasion demands an inspiring pre-battle speech from our king.
Show no mercy! Kill them all! The love of God is 1,000 times stronger than any mortal armor. His wrath against our foes is 1,000 times better than 1,000 arrows. Our faith gives us his aid, and more. It will give us victory. Over there stands a miserable collection of sausage-eating, beer-swilling imperial pudding heads. I think they will welcome death. The enemy have brought guns to this battle. Guns! The weapons of cowards and women. But this may be tricky, for we have no heavily armored troops to assault them directly. And now, I trust my life and victory to the judgment of the Almighty, for I know our cause to be true and just. So pray, you miserable English buggers, and make sure God knows you think the same!
Pray for victory, miserable Englishmen and proud Scots.
Units, await my orders!
Let the battle of the 5 armies begin. Seeing our enemy committing to battle, our king orders our army to dash for the top of the hill ahead of us, as Captain Petrus brings up the forlorn hopes. Our arquebusiers on the left are the first to make it to the top of the hill. You can see in the distance the army of Captain Petrus marked in blue. The garrison of Plauen has sallied out under order of Ferdinand, the Knight of Benedek, and are also heading for the same hill. So you can see now the 5 armies, 2 of our armies and 3 of the enemy. On the right, the Swedish regiment has taken positions next to a village that protects our right flank, and from there begin to fire at the approaching enemy cavalry of Ludwig August the Scarred. On the left, here, the Scottish regiment has reached the top of the hill and has deployed in the Swedish formation. Our arquebusiers have reached the top of the hill and are screening the advance of the rest of our army. Here is the garrison of Plauen and Otto Ferdinand, the Knight of Benedek. And here on the right are the Swedes, the Swedish regiment. Here's the Swedish regiment with units of the Yellow Brigade and the Red Regiment next to the village. They've already started firing at the approaching enemy cavalry, commanded by Ludwig August, glorious looking Swedish musketeers and pikemen. So you can see in the distance some of the units of the enemy cavalry of Ludwig August the Scarred. Here's Gustavus Adolphus, our glorious king, behind the Swedish regiment. The enemy General Ottokar von Marburg under Drau has attacked on that side. You might have seen him briefly. Here are those arquebusiers. And we have some cuirassiers of our own here. They came along with Captain Petrus. They are under the command of Captain Petrus. They've come as reinforcements, and they've come just in time to repulse the enemy cavalry attack. More enemy cavalry is attacking on our side. Here on the right, the Swedish regiment. Pikemen move forward to repulse them. And here in the foreground are the Scots, about to be engaged in melee with the garrison of Plauen that has sallied out. Here in the front was a company of post-reform pikemen that move forward to protect our center. They have engaged with the enemy cavalry in melee. And more enemy cavalry. This is part of the Plauen garrison and Otto Ferdinand, the Knight of Benedek. More of these units here. The Imperial Tercio now is moving up. Here we have some pikemen of our own, mainly Scottish pikemen. In blue, the reinforcements under Captain Petrus. The Imperial Tercio pikemen have already broken through. They have outflanked our left wing. Here are more Imperial Tercio pikemen engaged with the Swedes. These are the pikemen of Adolph the Scarred.
Good tidings. The enemy general lies dead. We've sent the base cur to hell.
And they break as their commander, Ludwig August the Scarred, has been slain.
Only half the enemy force remains.
And so now the cavalry unit and the Imperial Tercio pikemen on that side, on our right, have now been routed. There are, however, the units of the garrison and the units under Jobst Spiegel here. Here are more Imperial Tercio pikemen. They're engaged with the Scottish pikemen. There's glorious boots of pikes everywhere. Our right wing now, the Swedish regiment, is moving to flank the enemy, having repulsed the army of Ludwig August the Scarred. And here more Imperial Tercio pikemen, and more of them here. They've been engaged over here by the household regiment of Anhalt.
The battle is very much in our favor. If we remain true and steadfast, victory will be ours.
We are more or less in Anhalt, so we are in their household, so it's only right that the household regiment of Anhalt has come to help us out. And they are trying to hold back the Imperial Tercio. The Scots are firing at their sides and at their backs, but the Imperial Tercio is a hard nut to crack. And they are brushing off those musket shots. One of the cavalry regiment units, the Wallenstein regiment, troops of horse, has been routed. This was one of our Tercio units that came under the command of Captain Petrus. More Imperial Tercio pikemen there. They are being fired at their flanks and rear by the Scottish musketeers. They've been engaged on the other side by Scottish pikemen. One more company of the Wallenstein regiment of horse cuirassiers has been routed. Some turncoats of our own have been routed. We keep firing at the backs of the Imperial Tercio. We arranged our units so that the pikemen are on one side and the musketeers on the other, but these pikemen are impossible to break and very hard to kill.
Sent the base cur to hell.
And Otto Ferdinand, the Ritter of von Benedek, has been slain, the commander of the force of the garrison, and so now the garrison force is in disarray. They are retreating, and here is our king, Gustavus Adolphus. He just managed to rout the bodyguard of Jobst Spiegel.
We've captured the enemy's general. That'll teach the cowardly dog to turn tail and run. We can rest at our leisure.
And so Jobst Spiegel, the enemy commander of the third enemy army, has been taken prisoner. This is the army in which Leopold von Habsburg was in. So in blue again, the units of Captain Petrus, and now our enemy is in full retreat. All three armies have lost their commanders, and the remaining enemy units are retreating. There are just a couple of units covering the retreat, but most of the enemy units are in full retreat by now. In blue again, the reinforcements under Captain Petrus. So that was a very glorious battle, victory at last, of course, at a cost. This was probably the costliest, most bloody battle of the campaign so far. The costliest and bloodiest. So here are some of our arquebusiers, the Hofana regiment troop that Gustavus Adolphus had with him. Here is Gustavus Adolphus with his bodyguard. At this point, we're collecting prisoners. Several enemy units have managed to retreat to Plauen, including 3 full companies of post-reform musketeers and a full company of dragoons. Again here, Gustavus Adolphus. And Hamilton's regiment units. There were more of the Scottish units in the battle. They were the ones that were shouting for St. George. They are not true Presbyterians. So, victory for our king, Gustavus Adolphus. It was something of a Pyrrhic victory. We lost a third of our army. The bodyguard of Gustavus Adolphus took nearly 300 prisoners, and among them the enemy general Jobst Spiegel. The Swedish units fared better than the Scottish units that got into melee with the Imperial Tercio units. Captain Petrus pikemen did exceptionally well.
Poised to ambush, sire.
Bitte schön. The Kaiser will pay them. Nein, have mercy!
Such is the fate of all who oppose us!
The soldiers taken prisoner in battle were not offered for ransom, so that they do not end up reinforcing the garrison of Plauen. Several Imperialist post-reform musketeer units, however, retreated and took refuge behind the walls of the city. After this glorious victory, our king, Gustav Adolph the Mighty, has become a legendary commander, true to life. Leopold of Habsburg, the brother of the Kaiser, survived the battle and escaped to Plauen, together with Michael Adolph, the Graf of Althan, and Ottokar von Marburg under Drau. Johann Banea is now on his way from Poland to join our king in Saxony. Gustav Horn comes up with reinforcements and takes command of the army under Captain Petrus. John Marquis and Robert Monroe turn up with the rest of the Scottish brigade. Together with Gustavus Adolphus, they put Plauen under siege. There is no way out for Leopold von Habsburg. His fate is sealed. Michael Adolph, the Graf of Althan, takes command of the garrison. The siege was auto-resolved, otherwise we would have to wait for a game turn for siege equipment to arrive, which, let us say, our king had the foresight to bring with him when he decided to attack the army outside Plauen.
God pluck the eyes from my head if there's a bigger rabble of palsied, slack-jawed fools this side of Jerusalem! Units, await my orders! glory, honor, victory! My lord, our courage and honor have conquered.
Gustav Horn led the attack, and Plauen fell. Leopold von Habsburg will have to live the rest of his days praying for his freedom and for an end to the war. Perhaps he will not have to pray too long for his freedom. With Plauen in our hands, just 5 more cities are needed for final victory. Thank you for watching.